Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla. I'm your host, and I am so excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about the Calm Leader's Second Brain. But before we dive in, I just wanted to acknowledge we just wrapped up the 12 days of leadership last week. It was so much fun seeing how many downloads we had from that. It was cool seeing like every day a podcast episode came out and you all listened. So I just want to say thank you so much. If you haven't checked it out yet or you're still in the middle, it's totally okay. That's a lot of episodes to listen to. But I try to put out something between around 10 minutes to 20 minutes long every day on just different leadership topics like getting organized or mindset, and even ended with a love letter to you as leaders to say thank you. So I hope you enjoyed that for the holiday season this year and you got a lot of value from it. And as you know, I've been talking about the Organized Leader Sprint. This is the last time I'm going to mention it in 2025. It is the last day to register if you're listening in real time. It closes for enrollment on Tuesday, the 16th. Oh my goodness, December 16th. We kick off January 13th and we go for 4 weeks through February 3rd. I'm going to help you get yourself organized with your leader standard work, your project management systems, your daily rituals, all that communication. So if you're like, I need some help getting myself organized and my goals set and all ready to go for 2026, I want you to just take a chance, jump in there and come on with me live for 4 weeks. We're going to get your systems going. Everything's recorded. All the modules are included in my community app, including all of the templates that are ready to go, ready for you to use and edit. And I'm there to help coach you, give you ideas for how to set up your specific system. So if you're interested, check out the information page. It's kfaconsulting.org/sprint. And don't wait because I'm closing the doors. I think it's 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday, the 16th. And then, yeah, that's it. All right, let's dive into today's episode. If your brain feels really full lately, like you're constantly thinking about what you might be forgetting, what decision you still need to make, or what's coming next, this episode is for you. Because here's what I've noticed both in my leadership role and in the leaders I coach and talk with regularly. Most of us don't need better time management. We need somewhere like safe where we're not going to lose things to put our thoughts and to be able to retrieve them when we need them. This helps conserve our mental energy. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how to build a second brain. No, it's not a trendy, hustly planner. It's not a new sparkly item. It's not a do more, optimize everything way of thinking. It's a calm, grounded system or leader way of organizing your thoughts, resources, and having basically a dashboard to go to every day to keep you organized. So I just wanted to start out with a personal story. I share in the intro that I'm a mama to 3 children, right? Ages 7, 4, and 1.5, a little bit over 1.5 now. And that's a lot, right? That's a lot of mental load to carry. We have a house. I have an awesome husband. We have a dog. Like we have all these adulting things we had to do and take care of. And then I have a big job. You know, my job to me is really important. The people that I work with are really important to me. I want to do a good job for our patients. So that means a lot to me. And then I have this podcast and my YouTube channel. Like I have all these hobbies and passions that give my life purpose and meaning. And there's a lot of logistics. And my brain at times feels like it has to hold way too much. We talk about carrying mental load. And so for me, these work projects, leadership decisions, things I need to follow up on, podcast ideas, like personal goals, family logistics, like nothing's technically wrong with keeping that in your brain. You can function that way. You can show up, you can get things done, but your brain never feels quiet that way and you get exhausted. And I will say, I wouldn't consider myself just like by default an anxious person. I'm not somebody that like stays up late at night, can't fall asleep because I'm thinking about stuff. However, in, the minutes of the day as I'm going from meeting to meeting or like in the car picking up my kid, I will say my brain doesn't necessarily feel quiet. And I wanted a way for, to help myself like, okay, where do I dump these ideas that are easily retrievable? And that I don't have to carry this all day long. And I bet you feel similarly, right? You'll be making dinner and suddenly you'll remember, like, oh, I want to send this email. Or you'll be out on a run, like I'll be on the treadmill and I'll get an idea that I don't want to lose. And you go to sit down to focus, and then your mind immediately jumps to something else because there are a lot of things that you're juggling. It doesn't mean you're not good at organizing your thoughts. It's just like, how do you do this? So you don't need more discipline. You don't need a better planner. You don't need more willpower or anything like that. You need a home for these items. And so that's where the second brain comes in. So let's talk a little bit about what a second brain is. A second brain is simply a trusted external system, so like not in your brain, that holds your thoughts so your mind can do what it does best: think, decide, and lead, right? You need some white space in your calendar, in your mind, so that you have capacity to do all those like visionary leadership things. So a second brain is a place to capture your ideas, a place to organize thinking, a place to support decisions, and a place to offload mental clutter. But it's not another planner, another to-do list, another productivity app to maintain. It's not about doing more. The second brain is about thinking better. And as leaders, especially as you move into more senior or director roles, your value isn't on how much you remember. It's your value is on how clearly you can think and how well you can decide and how grounded you remain under pressure. So before I walk you through the structure of my second brain and the one I want to share with you, I do want to pause and give credit where credit is due, because I want you to know I did not invent the concept of the second brain. I actually heard about it on Ali Abdaal's YouTube channel. And then recently I was looking into different task organization apps, and I came across a video that talked about second brain. And I was like, oh, I really need to share this with my audience. So the idea was popularized by Tiago Forte in his book called Building a Second Brain. And his work centers on a really powerful idea, which is that our minds are for creating ideas, not storing them, right? Makes sense. He also created what's called the PARA method, or PARA, and it stands for projects, areas, resources, and archive. I mean, isn't this right up our alley? If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you're like, okay, he gets us. So the framework of project, areas, resources, and archive has helped so many people organize information in a way that actually supports the way we think and work. And I love it because it's really simple and you can adapt it specifically for leadership, which is what I've done. And for people who are holding complex roles, making layered decisions, balancing work, life, and responsibility all at once, it's very helpful to have this structure. So if you've heard of PARA or PARA before, it will sound familiar because it's not new and it's not an idea that I created. If you haven't heard it before, don't worry. I'm going to keep this very practical and very approachable as I walk you through it. All right, so not to belabor the point, but I wanted to like specifically talk about why leaders need a second brain. So as leaders, we're not just managing tasks. We're actually holding context. We're making decisions with incomplete information at times, or we're information gathering. We're thinking ahead. We need to balance people, systems, outcomes, and emotions. And when all of that lives in your head, a few things can start to happen, and they probably happen to you. If they have, nod your head as you're listening, so I know that you feel me. So you could feel mentally exhausted, right? You become more reactive than strategic. You're not able to be proactive, and you feel behind even when you're doing a good job. Even when you're doing well, you're like, oh, I could be doing more. And so the second brain actually makes it easy to find your thoughts and actually creates like your own little psychological safety for yourself. You stop asking yourself and like sort of gaslighting yourself, like, what am I forgetting? And you start asking yourself, okay, what deserves my attention right now? And then this shift alone can totally change how you lead every single day from reactive to proactive. Now, there are a lot of different places or ways you can create a second brain. I'll give you an example. My husband was feeling really overwhelmed a couple of years ago, and I knew of this concept. And I said, okay, I think you just need a brain dump. Have you ever said that? Like, you need a brain dump? And so I worked with him, and we use a free app on our phone that we had. And it was just like the Notes app or Evernote or something. And we just brain dumped. And then I helped him categorize it into different sections. Like he wanted to do some stuff in the garage. I was like, okay, this is like your garage stuff. And he was talking about his health. I'm like, okay, this is your health stuff. And then we went through and I helped him prioritize these items. And so basically explaining to him, like, this is just out of your brain and onto paper, right? It's a simple concept. But as leaders, we need a little bit more structure and we need to be able to retrieve the information. And a lot of you tell me at work you use Microsoft. So I personally use OneNote. So I'm going to share that. There are many other places you can use a second brain, like Notion is a really great place to create databases. You can do it in Asana. You can do it in a Notes app, but I'm going to use OneNote. And maybe if this goes well, I'll create more tutorials on my YouTube channel for different apps you can use it. Let's just talk about OneNote briefly, because I think the tool does matter a little bit because it depends on how you're going to set up your system. So I use OneNote for my second brain for work because it is flexible and it's not another task manager. It's not tempting to be like creating little project Kanban boards in there. Although I will say you can do this with Loop. It works across your work and life if you use Microsoft for your home life too. And it can scale as your leadership grows. You can add sections and pages to it. So OneNote helps you think in these sections and pages, and it's not just tempting to-do lists or check boxes. And so that matters because leaders, we're not thinking in linear to-do lists when we're trying to organize all of our information. We need to think in layers and like different sections for where we might find things. So this second brain, this OneNote that I'm going to tell you about, this framework, can be part of an overall system. So like I've talked about Kanban boards and project roadmaps. If you have those in a different spot, OneNote is a great place to have a dashboard where you actually link to those items. So you're not recreating them in OneNote, you're actually linking. So it's kind of your home base. So we'll talk more about that. But I just wanted to mention that if you're thinking like, wait, I have like tasks and to-dos other places, that's great. We can link them into your second brain so those things don't get lost. So let's talk about the Calm Leader Second Brain framework. And this is inspired by that PARA or PARA, but it's adapted by leadership. So the first section would be your dashboard in OneNote or wherever you're creating this. This is where I would like to start my day. This is where I always start. And it holds my focus for the week, my top priorities, a leadership intention, and a decision parking lot. It's not a task list. It's just a thinking space. And so if you can think about, all right, I'm opening my OneNote, my first section I'm going to go to is my dashboard. I can have different things linked in there. I can have a link to my to-dos, which then I can look at my top priorities. So think about, what do you want to have in your dashboard that's going to help ground you every single day? It's sort of the first place that you touch down on, instead of like, oh, I just sit down on my laptop and I open my inbox right away, like my email. Like that's really disorienting for me. You can get carried away in the inbox, right? Or I open my Teams and I respond to all the chats. That's also disorienting. So I've talked about my Leader Standard workbook before and how there's a section on the daily page for my intention for the week and my top 3, or perhaps my leave happy tasks, right? My priorities. So think of this as like the overarching focus for the week, the top priorities, the intention, and any big decisions I need to make. It's my landing spot. It's a thinking space. The second section I would have in OneNote or in whatever brain that you're, whatever app you're using to create your brain, is a task list. So this is a capture space. It's sort of a dump spot when I need to brain dump. And then I can move these tasks along to whatever section or whatever space I'm actually keeping my tasks in. It could be on my calendar or a project page or a task manager app like Planner. right? It's not my forever task manager. This just keeps my brain clear so that when I have an idea, I have a spot to go to. So maybe daily or weekly, you look at this dump and you have a standard work where you're like, okay, I'm moving these to the right spots. But sometimes it's just nice to have a home because it's like disorienting when you're on the fly and you have an idea to pick the right app or place to put it. So a running to do or task list that eventually gets reviewed. The third section is the note section, and this is where your thinking happens for like meetings or personal items you don't want to forget. So I might have a meetings note section, a one-on-one section, maybe leadership reflections, ideas that I'm thinking about that are more like narrative or description, and personal notes. So if my brain's trying to remember it, it goes here in this section. Now, many of you work for companies who might, have folders or OneNotes for separate pages for meetings, right? Like maybe they have, okay, there's a recurring monthly operations meeting and that has its own notebook or notes page already. Great. Maybe you want to make it easy for you to access those notes, but you don't want to duplicate them, right? That doesn't make sense. So maybe you just copy the link from that OneNote page and plop it into this meeting notes section. So that way you're like, okay, it's there. Instead of every time that monthly ops meeting comes up where you need to provide updates, you're like, I don't know where this book is. I don't know how to find it. It takes you like 5 minutes to find it. So you can also create sort of a dashboard page just with links to other meeting notes that exist in your company. All right, and here's where the para method really kicks off. So the fourth section would be projects. Anything with a start and end date lives here. And each project, you'd want to include something around the purpose, the desired outcome, notes, decisions made. This has dramatically reduced my decision fatigue. So I still have a project roadmap with an overview of like what projects are happening when throughout the year so I can compare them to each other. I still use Kanban boards for like deep work or tracking where it is in the process of planning, doing, done. However, the projects section in my second brain might keep like more detailed notes. It might have links to like invoices or other tools or resources. So this is sort of like a place where if I need to search information on this project, it's going to be here in the second brain. A really nice thing with using OneNote or other apps that can be linked to Outlook or your email is there's a widget you can add in your email that says send to OneNote. And so you just select which page. So you could select the project for whatever topic it is that you have, and then it would send to that project page. That way the email is documented in your OneNote, it's saved, and then you can archive it from your inbox so that it's not clogging up your inbox. Now you have it in your second brain and in your archives in Outlook. So another great tip for getting information on your projects, decisions, all of that inside of your second brain. The fifth area is actually called areas, PARAS, and these are your ongoing responsibilities that don't end. And for me at work, I think of these as the different areas that I lead or manage or direct. So like my system blood bank or my cell therapy laboratory, or I'm a copay setter for people engagement. So, but you might have broader categories like work, business, family, health, right? You can integrate these however you want. So this tab is not necessarily project-based. It's just things you want to categorize into different areas of your life. And it helps you see everything that you're not carrying. It's not just what's loud today, right? So like maybe I have a monthly standard work to review invoices for System Blood Bank. I'll probably have them in this areas section, right? Because I need them. I don't need them every day in my daily dashboard. It's not a project. It's just a thing that I want to keep track of and store. And then the sixth area is R for resources as part of paras. And resources is really all about reference material that you will want. Again, you don't need it in front of your face every day, but it's something that you're going to enough where you just want to know where it is. So it's like frameworks or templates or articles or inspiration. They're not actionable items. They're just useful and helpful items. And then the seventh area is archives. So this is where you would put completed projects or past notes that you no longer need and you don't need to see front of mind. They don't need to be a section or a tab in your second brain, that you're done with them. And the cool thing about putting in an archive section is nothing disappears. It just stops taking up physical and mental space. You can still search for this information, but you don't need it to be like a standout section in your second brain. So once I created this system, and I'm still playing around with it for 2026, but I already felt so much clarity from setting this up because I'm like, cool, this is like my home base, my dashboard, and everything else is linked to it. So it's like my external brains. I do not have to keep it inside my head. And when I started using this, I was like, oh, wow, I'm no longer worried I'm forgetting something. I stopped mentally rehearsing everything, trying to make sure that I wasn't forgetting something or that I had everything together. And I was able to spend more of my energy on making decisions more confidently because I could see my thinking clearly from all of the documents that I had and all my references, as well as not worry that I missed something. It was like, no, I have everything here. I can move on to decision making. And that's really what I want for you. It's not a perfect system. It's really not a complicated setup. I know there were 7 sections. Some you can give or take. Maybe you don't need a meeting notes section because they're all somewhere else and you just maybe want to link to the external meetings, right? But maybe you do want, like, let's say, your own meeting section for one-on-ones, or maybe just link to wherever those are, right? So you can pick and choose, but really having the paras part is the most important. It's just an easy way to set it up so your brain can rest and reset. I'm also recording a full YouTube walkthrough of this system so you can actually see how it works inside OneNote. And I'm also going to turn this into a ready-to-use OneNote template so you don't have to build it from scratch unless you want to. It's up to you. So if you want first access to this, I'm going to have this inside my free Get Organized at Work podcast community. So feel free to join the community. It'll be inside the resource library. Everything that I mentioned today will be linked in the show notes, including the book that I referenced about building the second brain. And remember this, your brain doesn't need to hold everything to prove you're capable. You're allowed to build systems that support the leader you already are to give you freedom of thought so you can be that visionary and focus on higher level thinking and decision making. I will talk to you in the next episode, and hopefully I'll see you inside the community so you can snag the OneNote template. Take care. Bye.